Hey everybody, today I'm going to be doing a ranking video. I haven't done one of these in a while, where I actually talk or make, you know, my own content, but I want to get back into it and make a video when I have the time. So, if you're new, subscribe for that. I'm going to try to do that from time to time. But yeah, I'm gonna be ranking the best pre-merge tribals of the new era of Survivor, meaning season 41 and up. This is filmed um, after the fourth boot of season 47, which actually inspired me to make this video. Um, but yeah, this the criteria for this is based off the full tribal, but probably more focused on the vote off itself. But like, a chaotic tribal leading up to the vote does help um, in the placement of the ranking. I thought this would be an interesting list because the pre-merges of the new era have been good, but there's been kind of like a handful of tribals that really stuck out, so I thought it'd be
At
fun
number
to
10, I
rank the
have
best of
Jelensky's
them. So
Blindside
here we go.
from Survivor 46. This being on here, it does kind of show that there's not like a ton of crazy ones from the pre-merge so far, but there's only like five or six pre-merge tribals per season. Um, but still, this is a really good tribal and blindside, I would say. I feel like the premiere of 46 was better than most of the pre-merge of it, where we just get this kind of ridiculous and cartoonish arc for Zelensky, where he ends up just shooting himself in the foot a lot and going out here as the first boot. And it was an interesting tribal leading up to it when Jeff was asking Zelensky about stuff, and I don't think Zelensky saw it coming. So it was just an interesting downfall arc for him. Now, obviously, it's not anything like crazy. There are some really great um, pre-merge tribals that will be higher on this list, but I do still think that this one was a really good vote and blindside and start 46. So it's there, number 10. At number 9, I have the TK blindside from Survivor 47, the current season, and this is the first of multiple from 47, even though we're just at episode 4. But this was a really good blindside. I feel like there's probably an argument for it being higher, but this is where I ended up landing it. The Blue Tribe had kind of a lot going on that round. You have TK, Tayana, and Kyle being a supposed alliance, but uh, eventually Tayana flips on him because he was just being too arrogant, and he was pretty shocked because TK was the big you know physical player on the tribe, the main one that they had, and they took the shot at him. So it was definitely a good blindside. Uh, I wish that we got the reactions from the other tribes in the next episode, but instead we had the journey, and they were still surprised on the journey. But the entire cast, I feel like, would have been shocked to learn that they voted out TK in episode 2 because he was definitely a big physical competitor and threat. But it's so far it's worked out. They haven't lost another challenge as of the recording of this video, but that's there at number 9. At number 8, I have Jem's Blindside from Survivor 46. This was the first of many blindsides of the season with players going out with idols in their pockets. Um, and Jem being the first casualty of that was definitely interesting and a good blindside, so I have it on the list. Her doing the whole thing with re-hiding the beware advantage or whatever, that was very interesting, and I feel like that kind of set up chaos that sort of eventually led to her going, even though I don't think they really knew that it was her, but they thought Tim had the idol. Um, but I was shocked actually, at least like if you told me before that episode that Jem went home, I would have been really surprised because I thought she was one of the bigger winner contenders on the board, but She overplayed a little bit and got blindsided. Another 4-2, and this was definitely one of the best of the pre-merge episodes of 46. It's here at number 8. At number 7, I have JD's Blindside from Survivor 41. I feel like this is probably a little bit of an overlooked tribal council, but I definitely think it deserved to make this list. I actually had it higher at one point, but it is a pretty simple vote, just a 3-1 onto JD when it got down to the four of them in the tribe. But he was surprised and he was blindsided. He'd been working with Shannon Ricard, but they decided to cut him. I believe Shan got his advantage, or whatever happened there was very interesting. And it was a good blindside. It was simple, but it was a good blindside. And I really liked the dynamics on the Uwa tribe. I really liked Ricard and Shan at the time. I still do. Um, and so I have JD here at number 7. At number 6, I have Asia getting blindsided from Survivor 47, the current season. And I wasn't 100% sure where to put this one. I almost had it below JD, but I think there's also an argument that it should be number 5. And I think as time goes on, it may end up aging better than the number 5. But right now, I have it at number 6. But this was a really good tribal and blindside. 3-1-1-1. That's the first time that ever happened, and I just thought that was a really interesting vote. I did not expect this vote to be so messy, but it made sense when so many people's names were up for potentially being voted out. Um, and Asia was pretty surprised. I think one thing that brought it a little down for me though was before the vote started, Asia said, something where it kind of sounded like she had an idea that something might be happening. Um, but I still think she felt really betrayed and pretty surprised. It was a very intense exit when she was leaving. And yeah, I mean, it was sad to see her go out so early as a fan of Robert's podcast, but it was a good blindside. So it's at number 6. At number 5, I have Sarah getting idled out of the game on Survivor 44. I think this one is maybe a little bit overlooked too at this point because 44, I think at the time it was like, this is a really good season, but I think as time goes on, it's kind of aging, like people weren't as high on it. But I still think this was a really good tribal. Tika was very entertaining. And when Josh got swapped over and had that idol, um, Carolyn actually worked with him on this vote, and Jam Jam and Sarah thought he's definitely voting out Carolyn to the point where Sarah thought she had a real idol during this tribal, and she didn't play it. That's how confident she was, even when Josh played his idol, and there were only 3 options, and she had voted for Josh. She did not play her idol. And I think that goes to show this is a really good blindside and tribal. Jam Jam's face also, he was shocked that this happened. This is probably the low point for Jam Jam in the season strategically, which is interesting that he had this point and came back from it as a winner. So I think this is definitely an underrated tribal. I have it at number 5.
5th person voted out of Survivor 44. Sarah, need to bring me your torch?
At number 4 is Maddie in also Survivor 44 getting idled out with only 1 vote at the first tribal of the season. And this was crazy live. It really like set up that initial hype for 44 even more. And this was just a crazy tribal. I mean, I believe it was like what someone had lost their vote, and then Jamie and Matthew both played the shot in the dark, leading to only 3 votes. And Maddie's name was really only implied by Brandon that he was going to vote for her, which was really interesting live. It was like you didn't fully know what was going to happen there. And I think there is a good case for this being number 3. I just think the kind of intensity and reactions of number 3 keep it above this. But this was very crazy. Definitely one of the wildest first tribals of a season ever. And it's here at number 4.
First vote. Brandon. Does not count. Brandon. Does not count. Second person voted out of Survivor 44 with one vote. Maddie. That's one. That's all there is.
Cracking the top three, and number three is Sabaya's elimination in Survivor 45. This is a very intense tribal, like I said, where Sabaya burns the idol thing and gets her idol, and her and Sean are seemingly very confident that they've, gotten Emily on their side and are going to get Caleb out, which was a pretty big and wild move this early on such a losing tribe, but that would have been interesting. But this was even more interesting, and we got the duo Caleb and Emily out of it, which was great. And yeah, Sabaya could have played the idol, and she would have been safe, and she would have had her vote, and actually would have been a tie if she had um, kept her vote. But instead, she thought 100% she was good and gets blindsided here 2-1. Just very interesting and, very close vote. They were by the actual people, there were 2-2, but she didn't have her vote. And she was shocked, and Sean was shocked when she got voted out. I mean, their faces, it was wild. And Sabaya had a pretty promising game for sure. But she got sniped out here, and it lands in the top three.
Third person voted out of Survivor 45. Sabaya. That's two. That's enough. You need to bring me your torch.
Wow.
At number two, the tribal that inspired this video is the Kishan tribal from Survivor 47. Just happened on the most recent episode while I'm filming this. And this was crazy. This was great. And I think it has a case for being number one, but I think it at this point would be recency bias. And the number one is a just crazy tribal. But this one, it does come close. I mean, you have it's not in the tribal necessarily. Like leading up to this, though, you have Saul versus Rome, and all of that stuff going on, and Saul being Rome's target, and then Rome potentially being about to get blindsided, and then Genevieve comes out of nowhere and sets up this blindside on Kishan, who I was thinking like he's really playing strategically, and he's kind of showing it to people. I think he'll be seen as a threat down the line. I did not expect that to happen 10 minutes from then. And the bluffing from Saul and Rome, like acting like they were not working together on this vote, I mean, they would never have suspected it, but the way they went about it, I thought was really interesting to watch and impressive. And when Rome steals Kishan's vote, I mean, Keyshawn and Teeny have no idea what's going on. Like that was a complete shock to them. And although I would have liked to see their reactions if they found out at the vote what was, that something was up, I think it was really interesting that we got that initial blindside and then it was just like, what is going on? And Keyshawn got completely sniped out of the game. Great tribal, and it's here number two.
Gotta steal a vote, and I'm gonna be stealing Keyshawn's vote tonight.
Fourth person voted out of Survivor 47. Keyshawn, that's three. That's enough. You need to bring me your torch.
That's not how I imagined it.
At number one, though, beating out all of the rest of these tribals is the Jenny Tribal Council in Survivor 42, where she is blindsided in a deadlock. And this was just absolutely crazy. I knew this one would be in the top three or so, but I went back and watched it to do this ranking, and it was so much better than I had remembered. Just the chaos when it ties and High is like, where are the votes? And Jeff's like, I'm gonna get to that. And then the people have to reveal that they didn't vote, which I thought was really interesting, because that's like the only scenario that would have to happen. The one downside is just the fact that she gets screwed over by two people not having their votes, and that's why this happened. I think Survivor's new era, they're leaning too much into, oh, people losing their votes. People need to lose their votes for some reason. But in this tribal, it definitely made things a lot crazier, and I wasn't complaining during this episode that had been the case. But yeah, you get this deadlock, and it just leads to complete chaos with Daniel like trying to throw Chanel under the bus, and then she realizes like she can't trust him, and Mike cutting in and asking stuff, and Jenny doesn't know what to do. High's fighting for Lydia. This tribe itself, I think, is underrated in terms of entertainment. Even though I'm not like 42 is not one of my favorite New Era seasons, but this tribal and this tribe were very fun. This was just crazy, and in the end, the two votes for Jenny went out, even though they would have been in the minority if people hadn't lost their votes. But yeah, this was just so much chaos going on, and it earns the number one spot on this list.
I wanted to work with Chanel. So we
Wait,
talk,
no, Daniel,
no,
Daniel, no,
yes,
that's not okay.
100%
That's not
true.
okay. Don't
That is
tell me that you, a
100%
super
true.
fan of Survivor, came on here and said, "Oh, I'm just going to let Chanel choose." That's not true
No,
at all.
that is 100%
That is not true at all.
Kai, you have to believe me when I tell you.
Kai,
and the
that's
only
not
reason
true.
I voted Lydia was because Chanel
Kai,
told me
please believe
that we
this.
were in a
Yes,
four-person alliance.
Jenny, the tribe has spoken. Time for you to go.
So that was my top 10 best premerge tribals of the new era. Kind of a random topic, but I felt like doing this, and I want to do more videos going forward. So if you have ideas, comment them, or just comment your thoughts on my ranking. What would your ranking be? Very curious to see what people think. Um, but yeah, I think the new era, like if we're just talking about it as the 40s, and then I guess after 50, it's like the new era. I don't know, but I think it's actually shaping up to be pretty good. Obviously, it has its issues, but 45 and 46 just were so good, and 47 has started off so good. Um, that could be a really great 3 season stretch. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want more Survivor stuff, and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Thank y'all all for watching.